Downs with Calvin Wolf, and the Terran player starting to the bottom right. One of the last times when you will actually hear Street Fighter voice announce a player, so enjoy it. I give you the player at the bottom right, the Axiom Terran called
Axiom Ryung.
What a majestic voice.
No. Ryung not looking too happy. His opponent to the top right. Songho is out of the group. Can he drag Ryung with him? He is.
MVP Killer.
Killer is either going to be the light at the end of the tunnel for his opponent or the anchor that's going to drag Ryung down.
Yes. I like that metaphor very much.
One of the two things. And we might actually not see an Nexus by Killer. He might go for some kind of crazy all-in. Warp Prism 4-gate, maybe a 4-gate. Immortal Attack all-in. Void Ray all-in.
No proxy gateways on Whirlwind though.
No.
So Ryung can be, he can rest at ease about that. Imagine being in a Ryung situation now for a moment. You have sat on the bench and watched this player all in every other player except the Zerg that he faced. And now your tournament life is on the line here. Your life of being in Code S or Code A is on the line against somebody who could do anything. The game doesn't even really matter to him. It's extremely scary, and Ryung still plunges in with a Command Center first.
Yeah, he takes the risk. And quite a risk that is. Command Center first here for him. Well, it's a really big map, but he's a bit unfortunate with the scouting probe of Killer spotting him exactly at the first position.
Well, that SCV might even go down. That was close.
For Ryung, this is really it's so uncomfortable to be in this position. I mean, you described it very well, and also the problem that you have with Heart of the Swarm looming at the horizon.
Killer goes for a Nexus here, a very economic response. He sees a fast Command Center, responds by cutting gas and cutting pro production for a moment.
They have a bit of a match history, as you can see on screen right now. One game in 2011, one in 2012. This is the first one in 2013 between the two of them, at least in an offline environment.
Yeah, they're 1-1 against each other. So whoever wins this one settles the score.
So Killer, after all, with the Nexus, I feel on the smaller map he would have just went for one base attack. But right now we have Whirlwind, and this is like one of the biggest maps. It's actually the biggest map that we have in the pool.
And need I remind you guys that Killer was actually at a time one of the best macro late game Protoss versus Terran players the world had ever seen. I watched so many games of him against Supernova, against other players, even back in the days of Crossfire. Try not to speak that map's name. It was a crazy late game of Storms versus Nukes. We've seen him play on, I think it was Tal'Darim Altar back in the day, in a game where he played for like 55 minutes and did not research charge and still won the game. I don't remember exactly what series that was, but Killer was once one of the most dominant players in this matchup. And there's a third Nexus.
Playing a third Nexus at the 5-minute mark.
Will this be scouted?
He just saw the last game, was like, you know what? I can actually top that.
Yeah.
Nexus at 7 minutes, I don't care. I'm going to build mine at 5.
I think we're going to see a parting type play here with a bunch of gateways from Killer. Ooh, denies the SCV scout.
You know, they're going to try to top each other. Creator actually ends up having to play the last game against Ryung today and is like, I'm going to build mine at 3.
He goes 17 Nexus, 17 Nexus.
I'm going to build my Nexus at 3 in Cloud Kingdom.
Well,
on Icarus.
Oh, wow.
This is like one of those typical Marine run-bys, and this is actually doing quite some damage.
Yeah, this is really well done by Ryung. He's actually going to fight with his probes here.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's doing that.
He's losing a lot of probes.
But he's actually doing a lot over here, too.
Yeah, but the Stalker, oh wow, this was so clutch. Just in the last second, the bunker finishes. But 6 Harvesters have been lost or killed by Ryung. So now Killer is at 30 supply against 30, which is where you don't want to be if you're up against a double orbital.
Yeah, but he will have the extra triple probe production for a while.
Yeah, that's true.
But also Ryung will have the 3rd orbital soon as well. So it's kind of... It's definitely an advantage position for Ryung. If he had done more damage with that first Stalker, for example, things would have been different, I feel.
He still doesn't know about this 3rd base, though. This is a little bit tricky. The reason is like he's operating now on the assumption that there is a 2-base Protoss player facing him, that he did a lot of damage to the economy, so that's kind of the premise that he's working with. But this is definitely not the case. With the saturation of 3 mineral lines, this is a lot better for Killer than it's supposed to at this point. Yeah. So Killer can hit timings that Ryung completely doesn't expect.
Killer is getting a Twilight Council and a Robotics. No Forge. And as far as I know, Ryung still has not seen that piece.
No, he doesn't. He has no idea. He has a probe at the 4th base, at the potential 4th base now, but he doesn't know about the 3rd at all.
Yeah, and he has an SCV in the main.
He had an SCV.
Still hasn't seen it.
But here we go. Here comes the scout.
Check.
Whoop. Zip. And I was like, look at that. Double Forge now. A little bit delayed. Charge first.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Now, how does Ryung respond? He's going to put his commands on low ground ASAP, but will he try to hit a big attack? He doesn't have medevacs, and his opponent's tech is pretty wild. He's already seen that. So right now, Ryung is going, wow, you just took the Book of Risks and ripped all the pages out and threw them on the floor and said, look at those are all the risks. That's basically what Ryung walked into the main base and saw. So he's literally teching in every way. He's going into charge. He's getting 1-1. He's got additional gateways coming up now as his 3rd base has been mining for a while, which he took extremely early.
Yeah.
So Ryung is now going, well, there's not much I can do here. I have to just also take a bunch of risks myself, try to tech, and maybe even make a 4th command center.
So does he have his own book, or how does that work now? Because I thought that all the pages were already on the floor.
Well, all the pages...
Does he pick them up, or...?
The thing is, there's different books of risks for different races and different matchups. He took the book of risks in PvT. That's what Killer did. He put them on the floor.
Okay.
Ryung has the TVP risk book. If he doesn't have it, he could check it out from the local library. He does check out those 3 stalkers, and it won't be returned anytime soon. He can renew them, however.
Yeah. 94 supply now for Killer, 94 Ryung, so the supply gap has been shut down, closed it. Now we have a charge nearly completed, so Killer with everything that he did is starting to get into this position where he can actually think about it as starting an attack. His upgrades are not as fast as he wants them to be. With a bit of better chrono boosting, he could get ahead of Ryung here. So far the Terran player has a bit of an edge at the attack upgrades, but we have now the Templar Archive coming up, and this is gonna get very, very scary. Keep in mind that Killer defeated a couple of really strong Terran players on his way into the Upper Downs.
Yeah.
Happy being one of them.
Killer, by the way, is not really chrono boosting very well. His next I have, look at that, full energy, and in fact, only one of his next eye has 50 energy, the other 2 have 100. So he is not chronoing well. Now starts to chrono a little bit on his storm research.
The problem that he has is that the buildings that he chrono boosts are very close to the Nexus at the natural, and if you all have all your Nexi in one control group, then it will always use the energy of the Nexus that is closest to the building that he chrono boosts, and not actually the Nexus that has the most energy.
Yeah. Ryung's starting to do some damage here. He wants to pick off these pylons, try to force a cancel on these warping in zealots, but he will have to get out. Meanwhile, though, Killer has enough army on the ground to push the ground force of Ryung back. Killer's starting to take a really nice supply lead here. He's getting charged, he's getting his upgrades out quite well. And he's really hitting the chronos better now. You can see it. It's quite evident.
And he can't really deal with this drop in his main base, though. He's losing a lot. Here come the rest of the zealots in, and now the charge upgrade really comes into play. Storm is also about to be completed, and he's really catching up in the upgrades. As mentioned earlier, the +2 attack upgrade is a bit faster for Ryung, but in general, Killer is doing a lot better now. Being supply book for a little bit, but with 3 pylons, that's not going to be an issue for much too long.
And the defense on the main base is just stellar. Again, he deflects a drop. You guys didn't see it, but this drop will be deflected as well. Cannon is going to buy time. Well, he needs to... that was a bit shaky, but...
Actually, he tries to save his 3rd base, which is being attacked. But there we go. Another feedback, but this double drop actually does quite a significant amount of damage. Takes down a lot of the harvesters.
That's 12 killed in total. Right now, the worker count, though, is pretty far in favor of Ryung, 76 to 61. He's just constantly producing them. He's not losing any. Killer is occupied, defending harass after harass after harass. He's never on the attack. He's making a 4th Nexus right now, which is halfway done. That's going to give him a lot more production. He also has an insane amount of advantage when it comes to tech. I mean, he's got 6 Templar out versus 1 Ghost. That's going to change very soon, but...
Yeah, 5 Ghosts built at a time, so that is definitely going to change in a few seconds.
This is going to be an uncomfortable position for Ryung if he loses a battle in the middle of the map. But as long as he keeps up his production and makes sure he maintains this proper ratio of Ghosts to Vikings, I think that this game is basically... It could go either way.
Yeah. A hidden base to the left side of the map by Ryung, whereas Killer is taking his normal 4th base. And did not start +3/+3 just yet. Should know that his second set of upgrades is already completed. Ryung's drop play is just so annoying. And Killer is trying to deal with it, but with the 4th base now being built, Killer just basically opened up another spot where Ryung can attack him.
Yeah. Ryung is looking for every opportunity to do damage, and he's doing it well. A bit of a shifting around by Killer. He starts shield upgrades first, then cancels, then goes into 3-3. 3 probes at a time being produced is going to allow him to catch up in the Harvester count quite quickly. Obviously, Ryung doesn't want to make any more SCVs. You never want to have really even 76.
And once again, the drop for Ryung is in position, and he has another medivac that is ready to drop at the 4th base. Harvesters have to be pulled back. Killer is definitely pressured by this, and if the army is drawn to the left, then suddenly the right side is completely exposed to a counter-attack by Ryung.
Killer needs to split his units perfectly here. Archon going the wrong way. Good Storm, though.
Yeah, the Storm was decent, but the Archon definitely very unlucky here. Double Archon, and the second Storm was so much better.
SCV is going over to a hidden base by Ryung on the left side of the map. The Archon's barely escaping here. The Ghosts just do so much damage. Their attack is something that people underestimate, I feel. That drop is just a distraction. Really nice Ghost usage here.
And here we go again with the Guardian Shield already being used. The Ghosts have been exposed, but not detected. There's no detection, no Storm so far. He's chasing the army away, but a nice stutter step and now a good split on the high ground.
Observer is here, but Killer has lost way too much, I feel.
Yeah, he's down 50 supply, and now he's... Well, Ryung is at least losing the Ghost, but with what Killer has, even with the warp in, that's just never enough. Look at this bank for Killer. He can't use it.
As soon as Ryung gets all of his forces together, this is going to be impossible. But until that time, yeah, see, now he's got the Marauders there. The medevac count was pretty high there as well.
The big problem for Killer is just that he doesn't have the production that he needs. He has so many resources, but he can't use them, not at all. Another round of 9 Zealots have been warped in, and he still has 1,700. He's now getting the additional gateways, but it's already a little bit too late. If Ryung is trying to close the game now, he will be able to win this.
Yeah, Songho in trouble here. He's sending his Zealots in now. The second Archon, or rather second High Templar group comes in, and they do some cleaning of the house. And with no Vikings here, if he can pull back behind these Zealots, maybe, just maybe, turns this fight around. Look at that, Zealots warping in here, 3-3 about to finish.
Yeah,
he's turned this around a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. He's still 30 supply ahead. The thing is, if he suddenly gets his production up, then Killer can take this. No, not maybe like the game immediately, but he can take those fights. He will close the gap in supply immediately. And that's exactly what happens right now. He's warping in 1 round. If he gets another 2, then suddenly we will be on an even footing again.
Yeah. Killer, though, is facing an opponent who is now, with that hidden base, dropping so many mules. Look at Killer's bank. He just is not able to spend it. I'm clicking on all of his gateways. He has 9 available right now. He's using them finally here. Another attack comes in. There's cannons ready.
Yeah. Once
he
again.
Needs a storm.
And there it is. There's the Storm, and he needs another round of warp-ins. He's trying to go for a counter-attack here. His 4th is heavily being attacked, and there are so many bunkers. 4 of them already at the...
And no pylon at the 4th base, so he can't even warp in there. He lost it.
He needs to finish it now.
This is exactly the situation I joked we might see, but this is what we're seeing now.
Oh,
Zealots run into bunkers. EMPs are excellent. The Vikings are way too much for the Colossi.
Killer looks a little bit like when he attacked up the choke point on Daybreak against Effort. He's losing everything here. He knows this is the one chance that he has. He doesn't have the production that he needs, and now he's going to lose this game with more than 1,500 minerals on the bank.
Yeah, he only has 11 gateways that I can count. He's adding more now.
it's too late already.
But he only had 11 gateways this game, and he had 4 bases, needed much more.
He lost his 4th base. He's 100 supply behind his opponent. We have this hidden base for Ryung to the left side of the map that still hasn't been scouted. And the Terran play, he just doesn't stop. He's hitting his production cycles. He's going to Marauders, Marines. He's adding additional Vikings against Colossi. Even the +2 attack upgrade for his anti-air units. And of course, another base. He can afford it all.
Yeah. Killer also starts another Nexus with some of his extra minerals. He remakes the base to the top left. With no storms available to him, I just can't imagine him taking this fight. He makes a bunch of Archons. The one high temple that's on the map is actually way too far away to fight.
And this is going to be the last fight of the game, unless Killer pulls off some kind of miracle with the perfect storms, but he just doesn't even have them. One High Templar is not going to change the course of this battle. Killer loses everything. He loses the 4th game of the day. He's 0-4 in the group now, and Ryung, he still has a chance of advancing to Good S.
Killer does not take the victory here, and this is going to be a great relief for Ryung, who played against a really, through the mid-game, quite strong Killer. The late game was his problem. He just could not keep up with Ryung's macro, his multitasking, his attacks. He never attacked Ryung himself. Ryung was always the one being the aggressor. Killer did not have enough gates, and GG.
GG. Ryung with a chance to go to Code S. If Effort loses to Center and Ryung wins against Crater in the last game, then Crater would advance to Code S. That's the chance that he has here.
Well, that was a pretty nuts game, Killer taking a lot of risks. They paid off at first, but he could not keep up with Ryung's multitasking.
We have a really weird ranking. We have Creator with a 4-0, then we have 4 players with a 2-2 score in this group, and then we have Killer at the bottom of the ranking with an 0-4. So the standings are extremely weird, and all the players in the middle still have a chance to go to Code S. There are a couple of scenarios that we already talked about. We talked a little bit about Ryung. He needs Effort to lose against Center in the next series, and then he needs to win his own game against Crater, which would be the last game of the day. For Center, it's a little bit different. He would need to win against Effort, and then it depends on a little bit how Ryung does later on. So a couple of those scenarios, then we will go through most of them. As soon as we are back, we are jumping into another short commercial break, and then we'll be back in about 5 minutes here at the GSL Up and Down Group B.